Hello there. Those blood pressure levels may have been a little high over the last couple of days. Some medical concerns. What the doctor ordered, perhaps a nice, tranquil Thursday afternoon in the Europa League. Ali Moreno, Steve Nicol, Shanker Hislop, me with Adrian Lee. Chelsea actually hadn't got the message, though. Unfortunately, they took us all the way to extra time against Eintracht Frankfurt. Got the job done. What a crazy cap to a week. An English team beating a German team on penalties. Didn't think we'd see that, Ali.
Okay, so you've been working on this, haven't you?
Did Chelsea deserve this Europa League semi-final victory?
I would suppose that I am just going to say Chelsea's a better team than Eintracht Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Now, I would also tell you that the best chances in this game, when it was 1-1, and if one team were to score, Frankfurt was closer than Chelsea was, and this is playing away from home. There were some disappointing performances from Chelsea individually, and I think as a group there were moments in which they thought, you know what, we're just better than this group of players. Yeah. We're going to get our chances, we're going to score our goal. And it didn't quite happen for them, and it became more difficult than it needed to be. In the end, they advanced through penalty kicks. Chelsea's probably the better team. They advanced, and they're probably the favourites going into the final.
Kepa, the hero, in the end. Shaka with 2 penalty saves.
Yeah, two very good penalty saves. In actual fact, I think it's just kind of in your nature or instinct to go one side or the other. But on the fourth, he stood straight and was able to react to a very well-struck penalty kick. I don't think he offered an awful lot during the course of the 90 or 120 minutes, but then came up very big indeed in the penalty shootout, which is not easy to do.
Looked like it was going to be fairly routine for Chelsea after Ruben Loftus-Cheek gave them the lead. Where's he been, by the way, all season long? He looked great.
Well, listen, he's looked great every time he stepped on the field when he's been given an opportunity. Unfortunately, that opportunity didn't come until well after Christmas and in the Europa League. For some reason, he got ditched in the Premier League. Hopefully that has changed. Well, it's certainly changed recently. And he should be there to stay for a long time. This guy, I mean, he's a monster for a start, physically. He's got a little turn of pace. He's got a great touch. He's got an eye for a pass. He's got an eye for a goal. So why wasn't he in this lineup before? And actually, when he did score, I thought that was it. But for some reason, Chelsea took the foot off the pedal and let Frankfurt back in the game.
Why didn't they put it away? It looked like it was going to be plain sailing, didn't it? After.
Well, I think, listen, when you go away in the first leg and I thought that Chelsea were the better side in Germany and they come away with that 1-1, then I think they just let the concentration go because they thought the game was probably over. And when you do that, the other team gets a lift, and then it's very hard to then turn the tap back on again and be kind of dominant the way they were. But they got away with it, they're through, and they don't care, do they?
No, they don't. They're there. They're in Baku. Frankfurt will be ruining their chances. They miss an extra time, couple of chances off the line.
Yeah, and these are finishes that if you're a center forward, in the case of Haller, he was right there. It's a good ball across. It's tapping. It's my kind of range, and yet he doesn't make clean contact. Allows then the opportunity for David Luiz to come behind Kepa, who was just merely just looking at the ball going in. He clears it off the line, and there were moments like that. Zappacosta did the same thing of a header. He was able to clear it off the line. Look, Eintracht Frankfurt had their chances here to advance, and they all happened because Chelsea, not only in the first leg but also in the second leg, it was the same tendency of. We're too comfortable. We're okay. This is fine. It's no problem. Hey, let's go to Baku already and allow Frankfurt a way back into this game. But again, I think we would be far more negative had they lost this match and had they not advanced. But they've advanced, and now they find themselves with an opportunity to win themselves a trophy.
Any sympathy for the German outfit, Shaka?
I have a lot of sympathy. I thought, listen, before a ball was kicked in this tie, we thought this would be Chelsea all the way, and wasn't even up for that much discussion. But Eintracht Frankfurt, who've had a very decent 2019, and no poor result on the weekend, gave us as good as they got against Chelsea. At home, Chelsea get the away goal and the draw, and you think, well, once you go back to Stamford Bridge, it's going to be all one-way traffic. But I thought they weathered an early storm and then got the goal, had some very good chances. And at this level of the game, you've got to take those chances when they come, because when they don't, ultimately, you somehow find yourself on the wrong end of a result.
What I can tell you, though, is that Jovic, for Eintracht Frankfurt, may not be playing with Eintracht Frankfurt
that may be
too much
last.
long.
Yeah.
No, it feels like that's the kind of player that maybe a team in the Premier League should pay attention to.
Of the two London teams in the semi-final, Steve, we perhaps thought Arsenal may have had the harder task, even though they had the 2-goal lead to take into the Mestalla against Valencia, who you thought would probably bother Arsenal. Didn't turn out that way.
Well, that's because we know what Arsenal are like defensively away from home. They can collapse and let goals in. And as soon as Valencia score, you think, oh dear.
Yeah.
But you know what? When you've got pace and ability like Aubameyang and Lacazette, basically, so far, their goals are digging out Arsenal's back line. And the problem with that is you can't continue to win games when you're relying on your front players digging the back line out.
Yeah, they do in the Europa League, though, and those front two get it done. So why can they beat the likes of Napoli and Valencia with ease in the Europa League, but they can't beat Brighton and they can't beat Crystal Palace in the Premier League? It's puzzling.
Well, yeah, it is puzzling, but at the same time, it's not. Because it's the personality that still remains in this team in Arsenal, that at times they just play down to the opposition. At times they get bored of playing. At times when there is no time and space, like Brighton sometimes may just put numbers behind the ball and make it difficult for them. You can utilize the speed of, like I said, you can utilize the speed of Aubameyang because there is no space in behind. So now you have to be able to create your own chances. And they haven't done that consistently. And there's also another thing about Arsenal. Look, defensively, they got their issues. And when you're a team that you know, everybody knows, they know it inside the locker room, that they have their issues, you feel like you have to be perfect in the attacking half. And there are moments, there are games, we all know this, in which you can't be perfect in the attacking half. And the more that you feel like you have to score goal after goal after goal, then it makes it more difficult for you because then the pressure ramps up. And so every single opportunity for, like I said, Aubameyang had to go in today. There were chances for Valencia here. It's not like Arsenal was comfortable. They became comfortable because Aubameyang, like I said, did something special. They were uncomfortable defensively throughout the course of the match.
Speaking of Arsenal's personality, this is an Arsenal team when the game is easy and things are going their way, are very good and a match for anybody, dare I say, in Europe on their day. But from the time you stand up to them, from the time you make it a physical battle and you make them uncomfortable, that's when they struggle. How you go to Napoli, put together that kind of a performance in the Europa League, then come back home and do as you did, not just away, but at home to Crystal Palace. And when you think about this is a team who, I know it was some time ago, but goes an entire season undefeated. And compare that to now, where it seems part of their DNA, where if it gets physical, if it gets nasty, if you ruffle their feathers, you can beat them.
Do you think that Unai Emery complicates things for Arsenal in the Premier League away from home? Because in the Europa League away from home, they're open, they're attacking, and they actually look like a team. In the Premier League away from home, it's almost like he doesn't want to make any mistakes. It's almost like he wants to pull them in a wee bit. And when you pull players in whose first instinct is not about defending, then you get yourself in trouble. It has to be down to Unai Emery's tactics.
Well, he will have a decision to make in the final in goal. Do you stick with Petr Cech? Or do you go back to your number one, Bernd Leno?
Play your best goalkeeper.
Who is? Which one is better?
Bernd Leno. Listen, Bernd Leno is.
Cech's playing better.
Bernd Leno is no Alisson or Edison. Let's put it that way. But he's better than Petr Cech. And you know what?
At this point in his career.
Sentiment should not come into it at this level. This is not. This is not schoolboy or schoolgirl football where you're being nice and so and so does really well and deserves it. This is about winning a trophy. This is about Arsenal getting into the Champions League. If Arsenal did not get in the Champions League because Petr Cech wasn't up to the job, if I'm Unai Emery's boss, I'm asking him a lot of questions.
But he has played every game in the Europa League, and they've been better in the Europa League, Shaka. Maybe a coincidence.
You don't change a winning team. In my opinion, it might seem like sympathy but you don't change a winning team.
So we just got to go on superstition now.
Well, you don't change a winning team. You don't change a winning team.
The final against Chelsea play into it at all? It's obviously Czechs.
I make the case all day long to play Petr Cech. Admittedly, I'm a little bit biased towards Petr Cech.
Who's the best goalie?
Bernd Leno.
You got
I rest my case, Your Honour.
Shagger's got Petacek's jersey. That's
And there we go. There's always
loyalty.
something.
Hey,
Loyalty.
Like I said, you don't change a winning team. That's what I was saying all along.
Unai Emery, by the way, 19 consecutive victories in the knockout rounds now in the Europa League.
That's good.
Extra time. Maybe we'll have some Unai Emery stats for you. We'll answer your
Really?
questions, yeah.
Why is that?
Great.
I think that was it.
Any reason?
Now, any trips to Amsterdam can often take some recovering from. What about the reaction to Spurs' miracle victory against Ajax? One more miracle. Ooh, the headline at the Daily Mirror. This was the reaction for Glenn Hoddle and Gary Lineker, two ex-Spurs players, Rio Ferdinand. They were on UK TV. That was after the Lucas Moura 96th minute winner.
Who does he support? He did that after Messi scored for Barcelona.
I think Glenn Hoddle got an elbow in the face there from Rio Ferdinand. Of course, he's just recovered from heart surgery as well. The great English midfielder. Yeah, it was just a week ago that they were doing the same in Barcelona, wasn't it? Mauricio Pochettino, thank you, football. This type of emotion without football is not possible. My players are heroes. Well, Lucas Moura was certainly the hero of the night with his hat-trick, and this was him with tears being shown his winning goal back with commentary from Brazilian TV. You can see just exactly how much it meant to Moura after his late exploits. So close, the other side of the coin, of course. The ecstasy and the agony for Ajax, who were so close. Erik ten Hag saying just that. The way the game ended, just brutal. This is so cruel. It's incredibly hard to find the right words to describe this. And Daily Blind, it hurts so much to see our dreams shatter like this. I do not know what to say. Massa Shone, it's a disaster. This is the worst way of losing. We even felt like we were already there. It was real quiet in the dressing room. Frankie de Jong, of course, on his way, but I think everyone enjoyed what we did in the Champions League this season. It was like a fairy tale. Unfortunately, it was one with an unhappy ending. De Ligt, the 19-year-old central defender, inspirational, but it's a nightmare, like a dream that went bad. Ziyech, this hits us hard, really hard. Of course, he had the post late on, could have won it for Ajax. I don't know how it happened. I just don't know. I could have scored. At least one of my chances should have gone in. I blame myself for this. I can't be proud right now because disappointment prevails. And then the former Ajax manager, Louis van Gaal, of course, who led them to that 1995 success. This loss completely unnecessary. Why would you put 9 players ahead of the ball when you're leading 2-0? You simply don't do that.
Well, I'm shocked that Van Gaal comes out with that.
What was your assessment? You weren't on yesterday.
Yeah.
You haven't had a chance to weigh in on this. Where do you begin?
If you had watched this game up until halftime of that second leg, in fact, if you had watched the first leg and then the first half of yesterday's match, you turn it off and you walk away, there's no way that you could have convinced me to say, you know what, there's a way back for Spurs here. Because Ajax were that good and were that dominant. And yet, it was the first time, really, that we have seen Ajax in these very key matches against Juventus, against Real Madrid, where they've been open and they've gone at people and they've attacked and they've been themselves. In the second half of the second leg against Spurs, it was the first time in which they were protecting something rather than being themselves. And in doing so, I think they lost who they are as a team. And because naturally it doesn't come to them. They don't feel comfortable doing it. It's not what they do best. And so now when you're trying to protect something and you're not quite that team that knows how to do it, then it becomes uncomfortable and it becomes difficult. And the momentum for Spurs kept growing, and Ajax were just asking those same questions. The same questions that they're asking in those quotes, they were asking themselves during match. How is this happening? How is this happening? Instead of finding solutions on the field, while you were asking yourselves those questions, Lucas Moura is breaking through and scoring the game-winning goal, and Spurs goes through.
What was your reaction, Stevie, to seeing all those quotes from Ajax players and managers?
The one line that stood out for me was Lasse Schöne when he hints that we almost thought we had done it. you guarantee when you get that mental state, you drop a level.
Yeah.
And there's no question they
Is that what they
dropped
did
the
in the
level.
second half? They just thought they were there, yeah?
Well, I agree that, you know, they can only play one way. They certainly can't defend. But if you're going to set about finishing this game off with the mindset that the game's already done and dusted, then you're putting yourself in a position to fail. And that is exactly what they did.
The worst thing that could have happened to Ajax is halftime. Because they actually got time to think about it.
Yeah.
And sit there and think, well, okay, we're up 2-0, it's 3-0. Oh, look at us. We are going to Madrid. Liverpool, here we come. That's it. We're there. And the more they thought about it, it felt like it in the second half. There's a team that was thinking about it rather than executing what they had been so good at over the last month and a half.
What you saw from Ajax, particularly in the last two rounds, as contrasted with this game against Spurs, is a youth. As good as they were against Real Madrid and Juventus in their wins, you put that down to a naivety of youth and refusing to be beat. But then all of a sudden you turn that around in the semi-final, you're up. Spurs, obviously, after the break, get the goal, they're on the up. And that naivety, that inexperience, you aren't able to make the necessary adjustments at the back. You aren't able to make the necessary adjustments tactically. And as a result, you go down. So it comes with the territory. We can't praise them for the previous two rounds and then be overly critical this time around.
In terms of gut-wrenching ways to lose, Barcelona and Ajax this week, was Ajax's worse in the manner it happened?
I think so.
Because Barcelona had the 3-0 lead, didn't they? Ajax only had the 1-goal lead to start off with.
The fact they're at home, right?
Well, my heart bleeds more for Ajax, but that because of how young this team is and
it's a team
how
that's going to get
impact.
It's a team that's going to get broken up. Too.
Yes. On the other hand, you look at Barcelona and their talent and the money that they spend on putting together their squad, and you do that. I've got absolutely no sympathy for them. None. They should be able to handle that period of a game over the course of 90 minutes a whole lot better than I ever expected Ajax to.
Look, the truth is Barcelona got destroyed. And I mean destroyed. And they were frozen by fear, which you don't expect from Barcelona. Ajax were not entirely destroyed. They played well. And then they fell apart. And in that moment, that's when you're talking about youth. And the same youth that we have been very supportive of and said, it's so great to see these guys play and express themselves the way they do. It's the same youth that yesterday did not allow them to close the match out.
You know,
Go on.
Liverpool outplayed Barcelona the way that the game, and everybody's eyes are supposed to be played these days. Pochettino's a brave man. He said, you know what, we can't try and outplay this team. But what we can do is we can stick a big guy up front and put pressure on them. The old-fashioned way. And he wasn't afraid to do that, because there's a lot of coaches wouldn't have done that. You've got to give him praise for doing that.
To your point, Valverde did not make a change. He did not change the way the team was playing.
Nope.
Ajax did not change the way that the team was playing. Pochettino made the adjustment, made it more direct and said, all right, deal with the big guy. And they couldn't.
Well, some people thought Pochettino should go to Madrid to try and win something. Well, he's going to get that chance now, isn't he? Spurs in Madrid.
That was good, wasn't it?
They're going to be the outsiders.
Smooth. He had that one. He had that
Creative.
Very, very impressive.
Liverpool, heavy favourites though, are 1-2 on to win on June the 1st in Madrid. Now, they do say, do they not, Ali, that variety is the spice of life?
Do they?
Yes, I've heard it said. It's an all-England affair for the Champions League and the Europa League. Chelsea and Arsenal in Baku, Liverpool and Spurs in Madrid. One man who doesn't like it, Peter Bosz, the Bayer Leverkusen manager, saying this: the Premier League already has the most money. 4 clubs from that league reaching the finals is not good for football.
I mean, I'm sorry. Did other teams not have an opportunity to knock these teams out? Did Barcelona lose because they didn't have as much money as Liverpool? Huh? What is this guy talking about? Look, these are games and results that are decided on the field. And Barcelona had a chance, and Spurs, obviously, that they advanced, and then Ajax had a chance because there was so much that could have gone in any different direction. Real Madrid had a chance, Juventus had a chance, Are they English? They're not English. Bayern Munich, they had a chance. Are they English? PSG? Do they not have enough money? What is this guy talking about?
I never heard them 3 or 4 years ago when all the Spanish teams were doing well in all the European competitions, and we had all these arguments about, oh, is the Premier League better than the Spanish League and blah, blah, blah. So Mr. Bosch wasn't opening his trap then, was he? Right?
Yeah.
The English clubs 3 and 4 years ago had plenty of money,
Yeah.
and it wasn't happening.
I'm trying to remember. Spurs got out of their group by goal difference,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Did Liverpool as well?
Yeah, they both finished second in their groups.
And it was like goal difference between them and
Yep.
third place. So, you know, you are goal difference away from getting out of your group, but you come good in the group stage because you manage your games a whole lot better and you learn from those experiences. You can't blame the money in English football for that. That's other clubs not making the most of their opportunities this season. Now, what happens as the money continues to grow in 10 or 20 years' time, we'll have to wait to see. But you can't put that on the English clubs or the money. Not this time around.
Even within the English clubs, Spurs doesn't have the same amount of money that Manchester City does. And Spurs beat Manchester City. So what? I mean, this guy is...
Where's the ball
By the way,
player in
by
2
the way,
years?
Hold on a second. We've just been talking about a team that doesn't spend money, who probably are the unluckiest side
In
ever not
Ajax,
to be in the
yeah.
Champions League final. Nothing to do with money.
And by the way, just to confirm, you were right. They actually both got out of the group stages on the head-to-head record, not even
correct.
goal difference. Liverpool and Spurs. The odds for those all English finals were Arsenal and Chelsea. Arsenal, the outsiders in Baku. Chelsea, the favourites. There's only one direct flight a week from London, by the way. Did I mention
Have you
that?
checked? It sounds like you've checked.
I think we may be looked on it.
Hey, don't miss the flight.
Now then, Shaka, power rankings affected by the Europa League?
Yes. Chelsea and Arsenal are in.
Ooh, I
obviously,
see
6
that.
and 7.
Big move.
No points for guessing who's 1 and 2. I was a little bit kind to Barcelona.
A little bit.
Felt sorry
Very
for Ajax
kind.
when they draw. But let's be honest.
Can I ask you a question?
You sure you can?
When was the last time Juventus won a game?
I don't know. They won the
How many in the top 10?
to know!
How many in the top 10?
They won the league. They won the league.
But they,
Bayern are about to win their league as a Benfica.
so results don't matter.
We're at that stage of the season where teams have secured silverware.
What league did Arsenal win?
Let's get to
They're in Europa League final.
Let's get to the real business of this Thursday afternoon, which was Shaka's lemon cake surprise.
Yeah.
He thought that all the cake had been eaten. Stevie provided the cake.
Stevie brought a lemon cake, which I was looking forward to. I went and I got my coffee, looking forward to the cake, and then they hit it.
Listen,
If you know me, I don't play with my cake.
look at the smile on his face.
I don't play with. Just give me my cake. I'll be hiding my cake.
Unconfirmed
Hold on.
reports, he might have fallen asleep after that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Blood pressure
Got all
levels
your
back
fingers,
up.
yeah.
Successfully done.
I did have a nap after.
He had a nap.
We'll
Yeah,
see
he
you
did.
tomorrow. So, 4 English teams through to the 2 finals. You may have heard the news, Ali.
Why are you telling me
Well,
that?
we talked about it during the show. We did tease a little bit. There'll be more on it in extra time. Antonio, do you guys think English clubs are going to dominate Europe for a while, since they have much higher budgets than other European leagues? Nowadays, even Everton and West Ham have more money than Valencia and
Picking on
Napoli.
West Ham.
That's got to be the deciding factor, says Antonio.
Well, let me tell you right now. West Ham ain't dominating Europe.
Not yet. Maybe it's still to come.
It's no Mark Noble just running the midfield in Europe, no?
I know how big their
on.
budgets are.
Yeah.
West Ham not dominating Europe.
But there is somewhat of a point there, isn't there? These clubs do have more money than the likes of
Listen,
Valencia.
if Tottenham and Liverpool had sailed through from the groups through the knockouts, then maybe you could come up with a reason why that might be right. But the fact is, they could just as easily have not made it.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2 wins that they needed were absolute miracles. So I don't think you can. No.
But-
Listen,
but-
Chelsea,
but listen.
Chelsea are lucky. Chelsea in my opinion, should have lost in it. I thought Frankfurt were a better side than them, but they get through.
But the money doesn't hurt.
No, it doesn't. And listen,
Makes it easy.
if the disparity continues between England and everybody else, over time, you can make that argument quite easily. But over the last few years, nobody spent more money than Manchester City or PSG. We all know how that worked out for both of them. We think it's only a matter of time for City. PSG right now, we're just scratching our heads. And at the same time, we just witnessed Spurs and Ajax, two teams who have spent next to nothing by comparison, battle out in an epic semi-final.
You know what I don't want to hear anymore of? This is 4 English teams, right? In the finals, right?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. I don't want to hear anything about the winter break and we're tired and we can't get through this and this is the reason as to why we can't compete with other European teams in Champions League and all this nonsense. There are 4 English teams in the finals. It can be done without a winter break.
You've always been a big proponent of the winter break.
Oh, yeah.
Stevie.
I've always told you don't know when the winter's coming. So how can you have a winter break when you don't know when the winter is?
It's still going in Connecticut, by the way. Here's an interesting one. Would Mauricio Pochettino be a good replacement for Ernesto Valverde? Asks Randy. So much conjecture about him going to Madrid. Is that the right place for him? But how about Barcelona?
And that would be quite a turn.
Yeah.
And it would be quite an opportunity also for Mauricio Pochettino. And what better way to do it with the possibility of winning a Champions League? I mean, look, I don't think Mauricio Pochettino needs to do anything from here on to the end of the season to prove anything to anybody else that he can do the job. It's going to be more of a situation with Barcelona and what they decide to do with Valverde. And if they get rid of Valverde, that's going to open up a whole lot of opportunities for a whole lot of people. But that whole lot of people is the exclusive few that have achieved something. Mauricio Pochettino is one of those guys.
Former Espanyol coach as well. Why? We talked about this during the show too, but Mike wants a recap. Why are Arsenal so good on the road in Europe, so dreadful on the road in the Premier League? That conundrum.
Arsenal are always very good when you let them have their way. When you don't let them have their way, home or away, and I know that's kind of given their home record over the course of the season, doesn't show that, but when you see the Crystal Palace game, I feel justified in saying that. You allow Arsenal to have their way, they will do exactly that. You come up against them, just as I said in the show, and give them something to think about. I think more times they're not their fault. They just don't have the leaders. They don't have the mettle that I think it takes.
Can I please say to the people that pick our questions, not the people that send the questions in, right? But the ones that pick the questions.
Yeah.
If we already addressed this on the show, and Shaka has explained it as well as he just did now, then why are we doing it in extra time?
Who are these people that,
well, you know,
pick our
producers,
questions?
assistant producers, you know who you are.
Stevie, how do you...
You know who you are.
How do you guys feel about reports stating Philip Coutinho to be sold this summer for, in quotes, not being a Barcelona player? Also, are his talents wasted as a left winger? Is the question. Would you?
I'm not sure. I'll answer the last one first.
Yeah.
And the first one last.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Then I'll ask
Just
you
to
another.
confuse everybody.
Right.
He's going to
So
confuse
what was the last
everybody.
one? Right. So, listen, Philip Coutinho was bought by Barcelona because of what he did for Liverpool on the left. So there's no question the guy's got talent. There's no question at Liverpool he was fantastic, but it hasn't worked at Barcelona. Why? That's the $1 million question.
Would you
or the
want-
$120 million
If
question.
you take money out of the equation, would you want him back at Liverpool?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What do you mean if you
Why
take
not?
money
Well,
out of the
I'm just
equation?
saying. Does he
I
fit
mean,
into
that's
does he
like-
fit into this version of the Liverpool team?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, listen, sometimes players just don't fit somewhere. And it doesn't mean that they're bad players or bad people or you know, some people just don't fit. Look, clearly Coutinho fitted at Liverpool because that's why Barcelona bought him. Unfortunately for them, hasn't worked yet.
Or he could come to West Ham as we're about to dominate football.
Yeah.
But can he play on the left for West Ham?
Well, he can play on a left.
Finally, because we got to go, we're really pushing up against the time limit. Who's the?
Well, thank goodness we included a question that we already answered then.
Who's, You haven't answered this one at all. I can
not happy
promise you
with
that.
these questions.
Who's the favourite to get back to the Premier League?
Question pickers.
Who's the favourite to get back to the Premier League? The Championship playoffs: Derby, Leeds, Villa, West Brom. Who are you
West
going
Brom. I'm going to say West Brom.
Are you really?
I am.
Why?
Well, because they still have a huge percentage of players who've already played in the Premier League, who are used to the big occasion. You've got Villa and Derby and Leeds, who have got a lot of young guys who, listen, when you get into the actual final,
Yeah.
this is one of the biggest games in the world. This game is worth about,
Yeah.
what is it, Shaka?
A lot.
Yes.
I'm glad that you went to Shaka thinking that he
well,
had
it's
that
worth-
answer.
He's looked at the numbers. He's looked at the numbers.
I'm trying to think
It's a lot.
the last time it was like
it's like
150 million or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, at least.
So there's a lot on it. So West Brom have got oodles of experience.
Yeah.
And they've got a solid team that doesn't give much
Yeah.
away. So I'm going for West Brom.
I'm going to go for Villa, and as
Oh,
much as Stevie is saying and likes West Brom, I think Villa come into this in the best form, and West Brom they're up against Villa over 2 legs. I back Villa over 2 legs. Now the youth in a one-off final, that's a different conversation. But as of right now,
I've got an update. It's 170 million pounds.
That's
you go.
Isn't that what
Which
I
is
said?
what? 200 and
Which,
exchange rate.
which by my estimation is a lot.
Right.
I'm going Leeds, by the way. I want to see Marcelo Bielsa.
Okay.
He's the hipster's pick. You know,
Is
Craig would be
is that-
all over that.
So you have Derby.
Yeah.
I've got Villa.
How come I get stuck with
I've
Derby?
got Villa, West Brom, Leeds.
Yes.
Ali says Derby.
You like Frank Lampard. That's why you're going Derby.
Why are you... Can we just go home?
Don't ask.
Can we go home?
Yes, we can indeed. Thank you for staying the course.
Derby?
What happens to Bielsa if they don't go?
Wow. We will.
I thought that he was your guy. You don't know the answer to
I
that?
don't know what happens. We got another Peter Bosch question if you want to do that before we go.
No.
By the way.
Let's
No.
go.
We'll see you tomorrow.